Was mental health. We were begging for people to bring mental health counselors into us to go door to door. The federal government spent money. They sent it to the state sent it to other state agencies at the local level, who put these big wonderful ads out in the paper, on the radio, and everything. Says, oh, please come by. Make an appointment with us. We'll be glad to talk to you. Well, most people are very proud. Most people are not going to believe that they have a problem. Most people aren't going to say that they're having trouble coping with a disaster. But you see that when you have caseworkers going door to door, and you see these things happening. You start seeing your cases rise of suicide. You start seeing spousal abuse rise. You start seeing alcoholism rise. You start seeing drug abuse rise. You know there's a problem. And you can take statistics and hand it to the government side and say, look, we're having these problems. And they say, well, we've sent money down to your agencies. You still got to have people on the ground. And that's where a lot of our faith-based organizations and some of the other mental health counselors came together as one, and we started doing door-to-door counseling. Some of the Red Cross caseworkers would come back to us and tell us they found such and such at such and such place, and we would send someone out to do counseling, and we would find there was really a desperate issue there. Right now, we're peaking. If anyone's had much work with mental health and disaster, you'll find that usually 2 to 3 years, sometimes up to 4 years after that disaster is when that actually peaks. That's when you come to the height of it all. And it doesn't go away yet. It'll decrease for 2 or 3 years, and then it will peak again. It's almost like a roller coaster effect. So once someone has really been stressed from a disaster situation, and they have been bothered with it mentally, it's going to come back and haunt them again. So it's not a short-term fix. Because of what came out, I flew to Hyannisport, Massachusetts, spent 3 weeks in school when I had stuff piling up on my back, and I was flying back every weekend and doing my EMA duties and flying back up there to finish classes in critical incident stress management training, because I felt it was very critical that we debrief a lot of our people. Our first responders were starting to see problems. Our caseworkers were starting to see problems. So not only can you be affected as an individual, but you can be affected as a person that's trying to support that disaster. And we all that work these disasters need to keep that in mind. Never think that you're so tough that you can't become distressed, because you can. I actually had to take 3 days and go on a sabbatical myself after Katrina for a while. I worked something like 86 straight hours from the time we activated for Katrina till the time I laid down. And I finally told somebody else, I'm a babbling idiot. I've got to lay down. I'm making no sense. And you find that happens a lot with your first responders. They'll work until they just can't work anymore, and you end up kind of walking around in a daze thereafter. So those are the kind of things that you see in disaster. But what we've got to do and continue to do is such things as Portlight is doing, and continue to try to make sure that we come together as one, as individuals, to go serve the other individuals, to make sure that they get what they need in a disaster. I had the unfortunate opportunity of being one of the divers. I don't know how many of you ever heard about the train derailment. I guess it was 10 or 15 years ago on the Mobile River. They were begging for volunteer divers. I happened to be a diving instructor. I recovered 142 bodies from that train. I had nightmares for months afterwards, seeing a hand go flashing before your face in a mask in murky water. It's a very distressing work, and you become callous sometimes. And often that people will look at you and say, well, you know, you don't seem to be fazed by this, but inside you are. I've recovered over 300 bodies in my tenure of emergency management and search and rescue. I've watched a lot of failures from our government. I'm asking for a grassroots effort to have FEMA removed out from under the Department of Homeland Security, made back to a cabinet post position where it has the president's ear, so it doesn't get baffled by response from other bureaucratic layers of government. I've been before Congress, I've testified. I don't think it went anywhere, but I got up and said what I thought. Had a few people kicking me in the shin at the same time. I've been known to be a little radical, but at the same time I'm a product child of the 60s and 70s. What can I say? You know, that was our nature. But I want to say thanks to everyone for being here today. Let's enjoy the walk. We've got a beautiful spring day, the second day of spring, and we want to give a big hand and big thank you to Portlight and all those that helped put this together. Thank you.